stand by me.
Tracy Chapman was never the loudest star in the room, but she became one of the most unforgettable voices in music. Her songs felt honest, quiet, and deeply real, and that is why they stayed with people for so long. But while her music reached millions, Tracy herself slowly pulled away from the spotlight. That only made the mystery grow. Fans kept asking what happened, why she became so private, and what made her step back for so many years. Her story is not just about fame or success. It is also about pressure, distance, silence, and the choice to live life on her own terms. Join us as we take a closer look at Tracy Chapman's life, career, and the long road that led her away from the spotlight. Before the world knew her, life hit hard. Tracy Chapman was born on March 30th, 1964 in Cleveland, and she was raised by her mother after her parents divorced when she was 4 years old. Music entered her life very early. When she was just 3, her mother bought her a ukulele, and that small gift helped begin something much bigger. By the age of 12, Tracy was already playing guitar and writing songs.
And I've been playing music since I was 12, or writing songs and playing guitar since.
She once said that the television show Hee Haw may have been one of the first things that inspired her to pick up the guitar. But her early years were not easy. Growing up in Cleveland, she faced bullying and racially motivated assaults. Those experiences stayed with her and likely shaped the honesty and care people would later hear in her music. Even as a child, she was learning that the world could be harsh, and that understanding seemed to deepen her voice long before fame ever arrived. Tracy was raised Baptist, but her education took her into very different spaces. She attended an Episcopal high school and was accepted into A Better Chance, a program that helps students attend college preparatory schools away from their home communities. That opportunity changed her path and took her far from home. She graduated from Worcester School in Connecticut and later attended Tufts University, where she majored in anthropology. Even during her school years, music stayed close to her. She performed in nearby places, including Harvard Square and on MBTA Red Line platforms, where she busked while still a student. She also recorded demo versions of her songs at the Tufts University radio station, WMFO, for copyright purposes, in exchange for the station's right to play them. That detail mattered because even before fame, she was already thinking seriously about her music and how to protect it. She was writing, performing, and slowly building her voice piece by piece with quiet focus, steady discipline, patience, and a strong sense of purpose, without knowing that one small moment during her college years would soon change everything. She got everything, then disappeared. Tracy's first major stage breakthrough came on May 3, 1985, when she opened for women's music pioneer Linda Tillery at Boston's Strand Theater. Around that same time, another Tufts student, Brian Koppelman, heard her playing and immediately felt there was something special about her. He brought Tracy to the attention of his father, Charles Koppelman, and showed him a demo tape that had been smuggled from her college radio station. On that tape was "Talking About a Revolution." Charles Koppelman, who ran SBK Publishing, signed her in 1986. After Tracy graduated from Tufts in 1987, he helped her sign a contract with Elektra Records. She had gone from busking and recording student demos to getting a real chance in the music business. It did not happen because she chased the spotlight. It happened because the songs spoke first. That quiet but steady style was already becoming part of who she was. At Elektra, Tracy released her self-titled debut album, Tracy Chapman, in 1988. The album was critically acclaimed, and she quickly began touring and building a strong fan base. But one moment pushed everything forward much faster. In June 1988, she performed at the televised Nelson Mandela 75th birthday tribute concert at Wembley Stadium in London. She first appeared in a short set earlier in the day, but later got a much bigger chance when she stepped in at the last minute for Stevie Wonder, who was having technical problems. That second appearance put her in front of a huge audience and helped send Fast Car racing up the charts. The song reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 for the week ending August 27, 1988. Years later, Rolling Stone placed it at number 167 on its 2010 list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. The singles that followed kept the momentum going. Talking About a Revolution reached number 75, and Baby Can I Hold You later peaked at number 48. The album sold in massive numbers, went multi-platinum, and won 3 Grammy Awards, including Best New Artist. That same year, she also joined Amnesty International's Human Rights Now tour. But that success had been building quietly for years before the world finally noticed her in a major way. Tracy Chapman had become famous very quickly, but she was still doing it in her own quiet way, and the size of that first success would soon be tested by everything that came after. Tracy's second album, Crossroads, came out in 1989. It did not match the giant commercial success of her debut, but it still reached platinum status in the United States. It also earned another Grammy nomination for Best Contemporary Folk Album. In 1992, she released Matters of the Heart. Then came New Beginning in 1995, and that album brought another major wave of success. It sold over 5 million copies in the US alone and became another worldwide hit. Its biggest single, Give Me One Reason, became her most successful song in the US at that point. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, went platinum, and won the 1997 Grammy for Best Rock Song. After that, there was a 5-year gap before Telling Stories arrived in 2000. That album later went gold. Then came Let It Rain in 2002 and Where You Live in 2005. In early 2008, she was commissioned by the American Conservatory Theatre to compose music for its production of Athol Fugard's Blood Knot, a play about apartheid in South Africa. That same year, Atlantic Records released her 8th studio album, Our Bright Future, which earned her a Grammy nomination for Best Contemporary Folk Album. Her work stayed respected, even when she was less visible. She was clearly not chasing the spotlight every minute, and that choice became even more obvious as the public kept trying to understand the woman behind the songs. That distance only deepened the curiosity, because the woman behind the songs remained unknown. The voice the world knew, and the woman it didn't. Tracy Chapman has long kept a strong line between her work and her personal life.
I've never really concerned myself with the way that other people perceive me because there's nothing I can do about it.
She said it plainly. I have a public life that's my work life, and I have my personal life. She also explained, in some ways, the decision to keep the two things separate relates to the work I do. That says a lot about her. She was never someone who seemed eager to turn her private world into public material.
Yeah, I'm not much drawn to the limelight.
She lives in San Francisco and has stayed known as a very private person. That privacy led to years of speculation, especially around her relationships. Although Tracy has never publicly discussed her sexual orientation, writer Alice Walker has said that the two were in a romantic relationship.
Heart. One of the great loves of your life that you write about is Tracy Chapman.
During the mid-1990s. Later, in a 2022 interview with Gayle King while promoting her memoir, Walker spoke on camera about Chapman for the first time and said she fell in love with Tracy because of her voice.
It was her voice. You know, there are some voices in our culture that can carry the whole culture, you know, and really make an emotional sense of it and liberate you into a deep...
Walker also said, I'm someone who actually loves everybody, men and women.
I'm someone who actually loves everybody, men and women.
And it's just the most wonderful thing. Still, most of what people say about that chapter begins and ends with Walker's words, because Tracy herself has remained silent about it. That silence only fed the mystery, and before long, the story stopped being just about Tracy and Alice, because other people around them were pulled into the rumors too. The talk around Tracy and Alice Walker did not stop with just the relationship itself. A much messier story grew around Rebecca Walker, Alice's daughter. Rebecca wrote openly over the years about her difficult relationship with her mother. In a 2008 Daily Mail article, she claimed Alice Walker believed that Rebecca giving birth to her son in 2004 was a failure of feminism. Rebecca wrote, "You see, my mom taught me that children enslave women. I grew up believing that children are millstones around your neck, and the idea that motherhood can make you blissfully happy is a complete fairy tale." Around Tracy, an even more dramatic rumor took shape. Some people claimed Rebecca had dated Chapman first, and that Alice later stole Tracy from her own daughter. But none of that has been confirmed by the people involved, and it remains in the world of allegation and lore. There is, however, a financial link that is documented. In January 1996, Rebecca Walker and Angel Williams opened Cocoa Bar, described by the New York Times as the first cybercafe owned and operated by Black women. Tracy invested $60,000 in it. When the owners failed to repay her on time, she sued Williams and Cocoa Bar and eventually sent sheriff's deputies and lawyers to seize cash and property from the business. Tracy said nothing publicly, but Angel Williams did, saying, "If she doesn't give a hoot about people, that's fine, but then she shouldn't run around singing songs about saving the earth." Some people later tied that fallout to the emotional tension around the Walker family, and some even believe that pain fed into the title track of Telling Stories. The lyric, "There is fiction in the space between / the lines on your page of memories / write it down, but it doesn't mean / you're not just telling stories," has often been read that way. Tracy never explained it publicly, and once again, she let the noise stay outside while she stayed quiet inside. She stepped back, but did she ever truly disappear? While the public kept guessing about her private life, Tracy stayed active in causes that mattered to her. She has said, "I'm approached by lots of organizations and lots of people who want me to support their various charitable efforts in some way. And I look at those requests, and I basically try to do what I can. And I have certain interests of my own, generally an interest in human rights." That focus showed up again and again in her work. In 1988, the same year her debut exploded, she performed in London as part of a worldwide Amnesty International concert tour, marking the 40th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That year, she also appeared at the Nelson Mandela tribute concert that raised money for South Africa's anti-apartheid movement and children's charities. In 1998, she performed in Paris at Amnesty International's 50th anniversary event, The Struggle Continues. In 2000, she appeared at Pavarotti and Friends for Cambodia and Tibet and performed a well-received duet of "Baby Can I Hold You Tonight" with Luciano Pavarotti. In 2004, she took part in the AIDS/Life Cycle event. She also worked with Cleveland elementary schools, produced an educational music video about African American history, and sponsored Crossroads in Black History, an essay contest for high school students. St. Xavier University gave her an honorary doctorate in 1997, and Tufts gave her an honorary doctorate in fine arts in 2004 for both her art and her activism. Tracy once summed up that approach by saying, "Finding out where the need is, and if someone thinks you're going to be helpful, then helping." Even when she was not constantly in the spotlight, she was not absent. She was simply choosing where to stand. And then, years later, her silence broke in a very different kind of fight. Even in the later years of her career, Tracy Chapman still had a way of making people stop and pay attention. She was not everywhere, and that was part of what made these moments stand out even more. In 2014, she was appointed a member of the Sundance Film Festival U.S. documentary jury. That role showed that her voice still carried weight, even outside of music alone. Then, in April 2015, she gave one of those performances that reminded people exactly why they had never forgotten her. She sang Benny King's "Stand By Me" on one of the final episodes of Late Show with David Letterman. The performance quickly became a viral hit and drew major attention, including coverage from Billboard and the Huffington Post. It was one of those moments that felt simple on the surface, but powerful underneath. Later that same year, on November 20th, 2015, she released Greatest Hits, her first global compilation release. It included 18 tracks, including the live version of Stand By Me, and gave people another chance to look back at the work that had made her such an important artist in the first place. Then, on the eve of the 2020 United States presidential election, she stepped forward again and performed "Talking About a Revolution" on Late Night with Seth Meyers, encouraging people to vote. That appearance said a lot. It showed that even after long stretches away from the center of public attention, Tracy could still step forward when she wanted to and say something that mattered. She was never gone in the way people sometimes imagined. She was simply careful, selective, and very deliberate about when she chose to be seen. And not long after that, that same careful side of Tracy would show up in a much more direct and serious public fight, when silence became her strongest statement. In 2018, Tracy Chapman became part of a major legal battle involving Nicki Minaj, and the issue centered on Chapman's 1988 song "Baby Can I Hold You" and a new Minaj track called "Sorry." Minaj wanted to interpolate the older song, which meant she was not simply using a sample from the original recording. She was reworking the lyrics and melody into a new version, and because of that, she needed Tracy Chapman's permission first. Chapman, who was already known in the music industry for refusing requests to sample her songs, said no, and she said no more than once. According to the lawsuit, Minaj's team first reached out in June 2018 and then sent a formal request in July. Chapman denied the request. Minaj later posted a tweet saying she had no clue that her song used work by the legend Tracy Chapman, and she even publicly asked Chapman for clearance, while also telling fans she was torn over whether to keep her release date or lose the song. In the end, Sorry was left off Queen, but that did not end the problem. The unreleased demo leaked anyway, and it was later played by DJ Funkmaster Flex on Hot 97 and spread online. In October 2018, Chapman sued. She said she had repeatedly denied permission and accused Minaj of infringement in two ways. First, by creating the song, and second, by distributing it after permission had been denied. In 2020, Judge Virginia A. Phillips ruled in Minaj's favor on the first issue, saying that the making of the demo counted as fair use experimentation. But the second issue did not go away. The question of the leak and distribution was still alive. Then, in January 2021, the case came to an end when Minaj agreed to pay Chapman $450,000. The two sides avoided a trial, but the message still came through clearly. Tracy Chapman did not bend when it came to control over her own work. For someone who had spent so many years staying quiet in public, this became one of the clearest and strongest public stands of her later career. And in its own way, it showed that silence does not always mean weakness. Sometimes it means choosing the exact moment to speak. But that strong public stand was not the end of the story. Before long, Tracy Chapman's name was being celebrated for a very different reason, and this time, it came through a song the world thought it already knew. The comeback no one saw coming. In 2023, Tracy Chapman's name returned to the center of a whole new conversation because of Fast Car. When Luke Combs released his version of the song, it brought her writing to a new audience and pushed the song into a space many people never expected. In July 2023, his version reached #1 on the country airplay chart. That made Tracy Chapman the first Black woman to score a country #1 with a solo composition. Another version of the same milestone was also highlighted that year, with reports saying she became the first Black person to reach a country #1 with a solo composition. Either way, it was a major moment. More than 30 years after she first released Fast Car, the song was rising again in a completely new way. Luke Combs made it clear how much the song meant to him. He called it his first favorite song and thanked Tracy by saying she had written one of the best songs of all time. Tracy also gave a public statement about this new success. She said, "I never expected to find myself on the country charts, but I'm honored to be there." She also said, "I'm happy for Luke and his success and grateful that new fans have found and embraced Fast Car." For someone who had stayed out of sight for so long, even those few words felt important. And that was only the start of what 2023 would bring. And as the year moved on, that renewed attention turned into something even bigger, bringing Tracy honors few had ever reached. Before 2023 was over, Fast Car had carried Tracy Chapman into another historic moment. In November 2023, at the 57th Annual Country Music Association Awards, Tracy Chapman won Song of the Year for Fast Car. That made her the first Black woman to ever win a CMA award and also the first Black songwriter to win that specific award. She did not attend the ceremony, but she sent a written message. In it, she said, "I'm sorry I couldn't join you all tonight. It's truly an honor for my song to be newly recognized after 35 years of its debut. Thank you to the CMAs and a special thanks to Luke and all of the fans of Fast Car." That one song kept opening new doors for her, even after all these years. And this was not the only honor she received around that time. On April 16, 2023, the South African presidency announced that Chapman would receive the Order of the Companions of O.R. Tambo in silver. The award recognizes foreign nationals for friendship shown to South Africa and honors peace, cooperation, solidarity, and support. She was recognized for her contribution to the fight for freedom by participating in efforts to free Nelson Mandela and raising awareness of human rights violations globally. The ceremony was held on April 28, 2023. Alongside all of this, her legacy had clearly grown beyond music alone. A street in Saint-Jean-de-Heur, a rural commune in France, had also been named after her. But then came the moment that truly made people stop. She let the world see her again, just not all of her. On February 4th, 2024, at the 66th Grammy Awards, Tracy Chapman joined Luke Combs on stage to perform Fast Car. For many viewers, it was an emotional moment. The duet brought people to tears, and the crowd gave them a standing ovation at the end. Before the performance, Combs spoke about how much the song had meant to him since childhood. Then, Tracy walked out and sang the song that had followed her for decades. It was her first televised performance since appearing on Late Night with Seth Meyers in 2020, and she had not toured since 2009. That helped explain why the moment felt so big. It was not just a performance, it felt like a rare return. Behind the scenes, though, this did not happen by accident. The Grammy producers, Raj Kapoor and Patrick Menton, wanted her on the show, but they knew she lived quietly and stayed far from the industry. A trusted connection helped open the door. Chapman's friend Matthew Rankin was brought in through Carla Sachs, who knew how to reach him. Instead of pushing Tracy for an answer, the producers took a softer approach. They asked her to think about it. Later, after her CMA win, Tracy and Luke Combs had a 30-minute phone call that helped move things forward. At the start of 2024, the answer finally came. One producer described it by saying, "It felt like a long yes." Combs reportedly wanted Chapman to have full creative control, and she even asked for plenty of rehearsal time. She led 6 hours of rehearsals over 2 days. When the first notes of Fast Car began, the audience reaction said the rest. But once that huge moment passed, Tracy still stayed Tracy. Even after the Grammy performance, Tracy Chapman did not suddenly become an open book. In 2024, reports still described her as someone who says very little about her personal life. It was believed that she was dating screenwriter Guinevere Turner, but even there, the point remained the same. Tracy was still not speaking publicly about that side of her life. She remained low-key and private, the kind of person who would rather tell my story in a song. By 2025, that had not really changed. Reports said she had no plans to leave her secluded life and that she still lived like a homebody in San Francisco. In April 2025, she reissued her classic debut album on vinyl and gave a small number of interviews to support it. But even then, she made her position clear. She said, "I'm still on a break. I have no plans to go on tour, and I have no plans to go into the studio. Who knows what might happen? But right now, there are no plans." At the same time, she also gave fans a little hope. She said, "If I were to tour, I would tour for something new material," and explained, "I'm always playing and I'm always writing songs. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old. It's just part of my DNA. It's part of who I am." She also spoke honestly about fame itself, saying, "Being in the public eye and under the glare of the spotlight was, and it still is to some extent, uncomfortable for me, but I'm a bit shy." That may be the clearest Tracy Chapman has been in years, not changing who she is, but finally putting some of it into words. Do you think Tracy Chapman stepped away because fame never truly felt comfortable for her, or because protecting her peace mattered more than staying in the spotlight? And after hearing her story, do you think Tracy Chapman still has one more big chapter left in music, or has she already said everything she wanted to say? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.